Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Would you ever consider working multiple jobs, multiple full-time jobs at once? This is actually a growing trend, and one of the reasons it's becoming more popular is the availability of remote work. Out of the pandemic came a wave of remote work positions and remote work options, and I am a huge fan of this availability of remote work. This has also offered not just jobs, but true careers for many segments of the population who are traditionally underemployed. Think about military spouses. My husband's in the service, and if I didn't work remotely, I would have to quit a job every 2, 3, 4 years simply because we move. So if you have to quit your job so often, it's really hard to build a meaningful career. However, if you work remotely, you can actually have some longevity with your career. You can stick with one company and really try to build your career. Also, think about people who would otherwise be stay-at-home parents or need a more flexible schedule so they can be with their kids after school. Remote work can be an option for that. Or even people who have disabilities and who would otherwise have a difficult time holding down a traditional job. Now, of course, anyone can work a remote position, but it really has changed the game for certain segments of the population. And when you work a remote position, you often feel like you get time back in your day, that you get a greater control of your schedule. For one, you no longer have a lengthy commute. I often joke my commute is walking upstairs and down the hall. And let me tell you, my get ready for the day, that is probably a negative 30 seconds. I don't even get dressed for work. Most days it is hair up, sweats on, and no makeup. It really depends on the type of position you hold, but if you work remotely, most of the time you have a lot of greater flexibility with your schedule. Jobs that can be done remotely offer a ton of flexibility, and today the measure of an employee's contributions are less on the time they spend working and rather on how productive they are and how able they are to meet deadlines and expectations. And with this greater control of time, many people are deciding to work multiple jobs. In fact, according to a recent survey from Resume Builder, 79% of remote work or hybrid employees work 2 jobs at once, with 20% of remote workers working 2 full-time jobs. That is an overwhelmingly high number. Honestly, I was a little shocked by it. But with that said, I was one of those workers who worked 2 full-time jobs at once. And let's be very clear, working 2 full-time jobs is very different from working a main job and a side hustle. A side hustle might take anywhere from a few hours a week to maybe up to 20 hours or so. And according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, 45% of workers have side hustles. I'm a huge fan of side hustles. I think generating an additional stream of income, that's wonderful. Anything that prevents you from being 100% reliant on one stream of income, that's a solid plan in my book. Or maybe simply having a side hustle allows you to explore a passion that otherwise doesn't generate enough revenue for you to live off. Maybe you simply just need a little extra cash. But there is a big difference from working a side hustle to your main job and working 2 full-time jobs. And according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, roughly 400,000 Americans are working 2 full-time jobs as of September 2022. And if that Resume Builder survey has anything to suggest, many of these workers who are pulling double duty on full-time employment are remote workers. Working 2 full-time jobs has actually inspired the website Overemployed, which is a community of professionals looking to work 2 remote jobs, earn extra income, and achieve financial freedom. And as I said, while I am a big fan of having a side hustle or generating multiple streams of income in your life, as someone who has worked 2 full-time jobs, both remote positions, I am less of a fan of that. Admittedly though, as I was working 2 full-time jobs, I was also working a side hustle, which was this YouTube channel. Quick sidebar here, it's worth noting that there are very different reasons for people to work multiple jobs. You have those who are doing it to get ahead financially and boost their savings rates. But then you have those who do it because they work in low-wage positions and live in very high cost of living areas, and they simply can't make ends meet without it. These are very different approaches. These are very different situations. My attitude around this is really geared towards those who are making the choice to do this, not based out of necessity, but to more quickly reach financial freedom. Some of the most popular reasons for people to take on extra work are simply to boost discretionary income or boost savings or to combat this past year's rising costs and record level inflation. In fact, 1/3 of all remote workers making over $100,000 a year from one of their full-time jobs work an additional full-time job. I love the pursuit of financial freedom. I think everyone should be striving for it. It's one of the main reasons I have this channel. I think everyone should strive to take control of their finances and take control of their futures. But with that said, I don't think having two jobs is the way to go about it. Sure, it works, technically, it boosts your income, but at what cost? Working 60, 70, 80 hours a week is not enviable, it's kind of awful. You might have this attitude, or at least I did. I know this field, I know this job inside and out. I'm quick, I'm efficient, this'll be a piece of cake. But then you forget how much unexpected things tend to pop up in practically every single workday. Phone calls, meetings with a client, meetings with coworkers, a manager wants to chat, they ask you to take on an additional role or to help with a project, which under normal circumstances wouldn't be a big deal. But when every second of your day is already allocated because of two jobs, it can really be overwhelming. You think, no, I can't take that on. Don't you know how busy I am? But of course they don't, because you haven't told them you're working two jobs and you can't tell them. Assuming there's no conflict of interest, it is perfectly legal to work two jobs. You do have to be careful in certain fields in case there's non-competes or NDAs, but assuming there's no overlap, you can do this. But in a professional setting, most people who work two full-time jobs don't say anything to their respective employers, mainly because it looks bad. And if you get caught without ever having said anything, well, that looks kind of worse. There have been situations where people have been caught and they've been fired because of it. So just know, if you're an at-will employee, this is a possibility. Most employers don't inherently have an issue with you working an additional job. The issue tends to stem from time theft, where you're working for one company while on the clock for another. So you're sort of double dipping, so to speak. And this is a legitimate concern, as 65% of remote workers say they work on their second job during the hours of their primary job. Obviously, an employer doesn't want to pay you while you're trying to work for someone else. That's not an ethical situation to be in. And if you're trying to multitask, you usually end up being a little less efficient at practically everything, as everything you're trying to do only gets a piece of your brain space. Working multiple jobs made me feel like I was incredibly time poor. I was always rushing. I couldn't take a moment to enjoy the job I was doing or enjoy a moment to just chat with a coworker. I literally felt like I didn't have time to breathe. There were days, Monday through Friday, generally, where my schedule was wake up, work out, work, go back to sleep, repeat, and do it all over again. I ended up losing 15 pounds because on most days I forgot to eat, or I just literally didn't have time to eat. There was no time for fun, time for relaxing, time for enjoying life. There was no time for enjoyment. I started living for the weekends, and then once I got there, all I wanted to do was relax on the couch. Even outside of work hours, I was stressed, I was short-tempered, I was rushed, I didn't have time for my family. And when I say outside of work hours, that rarely happened, because Monday through Friday, I would often work 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I felt like working two jobs was sucking the life out of me. My exact quote to my husband before I quit one of those jobs was, "I literally feel like I'm dying." I have worked two full-time jobs, and I would never do that again. Financial freedom is a worthy goal, but it is not the only goal. It's important to enjoy your life, enjoy your friends, your family, enjoy your career, and save a little bit each month towards financial freedom. Financial freedom takes time, and trying to fast track it at the expense of everything else is not a good thing. It basically turns a marathon into a sprint. I learned this one the hard way, but sometimes you have to be off balance in order to go back and find balance. So in the growing trend of trying to work multiple jobs, I'd say give this one a pass. You want to make sure work isn't all-consuming of your life. You want to make sure that you have time to actually enjoy your life. These days, my workday ends around 4 or 5. I do a job I love, and a couple times a month, I take 3-day weekends. So life is infinitely better. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.